Evening all, welcome to Fitting Dust. So today we're going to look at a gun that I've kind of slated recently, and I think it's unnecessarily so. It's the assault rifle, and it's the non-tac version. So basically, it's your kind of high rate of fire variant. So you're looking at your kind of assault rifles, militia assault rifles, the GEC, the DeVol, etc., etc. Now, I guess first impressions. I mean, I've always used this gun. Don't get me wrong, but I guess it's for the first time where I've actually kind of objectively looked at it a bit more so. I know the Flaylock is about to be nerfed, and it's going to be nerfed so hard it'll be left in the corner weeping like a small child, which is exactly what I'll be doing, remembering this wonderful, once great weapon. So as CCP continue to ruin all of the guns in the game that make this game interesting and different, laser rifle, mass driver, I think they kind of recovered, but not too sure yet. And now the Flaylock, I think we're kind of left with the only options being the assault rifle and maybe the scrambler rifle. So that's pretty much going to be my gun de jour. That's going to be what I'm going to start using a bit more of. Firstly, it's a very good gun, and I think it should be as well. I think it's one of these guns that I think you can see why the veterans of the game run DeVol assault rifles, because they, if you become a good shot with it, it's a phenomenally good gun, and I think it does certainly the job that it needs to do. In terms of its kind of capability, it's not great at particular range. As you can see, that dude there for some reason stayed on the gun, so let's just finish him off. So it wasn't doing great damage, but again, most of the time your engagement is going to be maybe up to 20 meters. So, and that's where I'd say the DeVol is very good. If you can be good enough to aim at the head, then you're going to take most targets down within a few shots. So I would say it's one of the few guns that does reward you for skill, I would say. As a weapon, I mean, pretty much I would say the GEC is a phenomenally good gun. The only difference is obviously the amount of damage that you get between them. But I would say, if you've got deep pockets, the DeVol is a good choice. If you can make it fit as well, it's not the easiest gun to make fit, to be honest with you, but I think it's a good gun, and I would heartily recommend it. It does feel a shame that all of the non-AR guns are kind of being corralled into the gas chambers, which sucks, because the feeling, I mean, I could be wrong, but I just get this feeling that everybody runs AR. Probably a good 50% of the game, at least, maybe more, 75, run AR. So any gun that beats them, their immediate response is that's OP. So when the mass driver, the laser rifle, the Flaylock, whatever it may be, starts beating them, can't be how bad a player they are. It's naturally the gun is OP. So that's a shame, because I think what we're ending up, I mean, heavy machine gun, my God, what a great case in point. That gun used to be, quote, good. And I think it just killed one too many Caldari Logi with an AR. So it's basically been hit with a nerf bar. I don't think there's a problem, but I think there's perhaps an underlying problem here, which is that, basically too many people, there's too much mob mentality at the moment. People are saying this doesn't work, so fix it. So CCP are just kind of maybe, they're responding. They don't have a grand plan that says this will be our plan. They just seem to be responding. So obviously with the latest thing I heard from White, White was telling me that there's a big thing about tanks on the forums. I generally don't read the forums, mainly because I literally would rather, give myself a vasectomy with a rusty bread knife than go and read the forums, because it's just filled with people who are so poorly informed, like me, but they're so poorly informed, but they then go and shit and talk and post their opinions, and most of the time I couldn't give a monkey's bloody arse. I really couldn't, and I find that most of the time that's not a good thing, because just when the forums are literally so filled with awful terrible things, you just don't want to know. But apparently there's lots of anti-vehicle tank hate in the air, and I think people, the tankers and the people who use these things are kind of spamming, certain CCP individuals to fix them. And what can you do? I mean, I think it's there's definitely something not quite right with the game at the moment in terms of the weaponry. So I can see why they're doing a little bit of tweaking here and there. But what I fear is that, again, we're moving towards an area where I think people are just going to end up with the only option being the assault rifle or the scrambler rifle, or or maybe something like the mass driver. But again, There shouldn't be that way. There should be, if anything, they shouldn't be shutting down weapons. They should be opening more up. You know what I mean? If everybody just sits and uses the AR, then what a boring game that's going to become. You know. Anyway, I think that's probably another topic for another video. As it stands, I think the AR in this context is very good, and I can certainly see why people use them. I think it's a fun gun as well. I think it's, you know, it does reward, you know, a good use of the gun. I think, you know, pretty much it's good at everything. So, you know, I mean, I've always, like, kind of used shotguns and mass drivers and flaylocks for up close. Whereas, yes, that guy is driving towards the objective. That made me smile. Basically, you know, I think there is a number of guns that you can use for certain roles, but the AR kind of does it all, really. The TAC AR is great at range, obviously, and I think the normal AR is great close up. So here we go. I mean, that's better than a shotgun. What I just did there. I mean, you know, a shotgun is hard to control. It's hard to aim. So, you know, it's kind of bizarre that the AR is just such a good all-round gun, but I guess that's what it's designed for. So, you know, what can you do? I think the next question is, should you use damage mods with this? And I would probably say you probably don't need to. I think a lot of people generally will run glass cannon fits, so they'll basically have some form of, you know, maybe 3 damage mods or whatever it may be, and then they will just push as much as they can into you know, the damage, and I think that's fine if you can play that way, but survivability is probably better than damage, I would say, with an assault rifle, because they're already quite good. So I would say it's probably worth just, you know, seeing what your tank can do. If you've got maybe 4 or 5 mid slots, then sure, put a complex damage mod on, because 10% is always good. I wouldn't put any more than maybe 3 damage mods on, because I think you're starting to lose. Yes, he's driving again. I think you're starting to lose your you know, your tank if you do that. It's a tricky one, really, because I think, you know, a lot of the proto stuff is quite good anyway, I would say. So the Devol, if you're running a Devol, you probably, again, you could run damage mods and you would kill stuff so quickly, but the thing is, it's just when you're caught unaware, that's when somebody may, you know, drop you, and you just generally want to try and avoid that if you can. But I would say, you know, most ARs, I think, are pretty good without having to resort to damage mods, so I'd say give that a go. In terms of maybe the guns to kind of focus on as well, the GEC is a great weapon, and I think maybe have a fit which is kind of your premium fit, so this will be maybe your prototype suit, or a good suit at least, with a Devol. The Devols are quite expensive. If again, I recall them being about 70k per gun, which is very high for a gun. I mean, it's ridiculously high, but I may be wrong. They may have kind of changed since when I last was using them, but what I currently would recommend is that you have maybe a few GECs, and then your GECs are going to be your kind of cheaper fit when you want to run a kind of much cheaper fit. So there we go. I think you know, assault rifle's pretty good. I think you know, it's worth maybe just having to skill to level 3 so you can use the GEC, and I think, you know, it's a good all-round gun. You can always be pretty assured that they're never really going to ever nerf the assault rifle ever, so I would say it's probably not a bad choice to go into. In terms of maybe the assault rifle versus the scrambler rifle, that's a tricky one. I would probably say the scrambler rifle feels better, assault variant obviously, but that's probably me. Plus you'd need level 4 for that as well. I think maybe if you have level 5 in both, I would probably say the Devol assault rifle, you know, maybe performs a bit better. It's got a very, very powerful punch on it. If you get somebody in the right kind of you know, the right area, you can pretty much wipe out anybody with a Devol. Whereas the scrambler, I think, you know, it also does good damage, but the Devol seems to pack more of a punch. I could be completely wrong, but just from having kind of run up behind people and let rip from the hip, basically I noticed that the Devol kills people quicker than the scrambler rifle did. That could be I have proficiency in it though, so let's not forget that, whereas I don't have proficiency in scrambler rifle. So take your pick. I think the scope on the scrambler rifle plus the way it feels and acts makes it a very, very good gun that I'd quite honestly say I prefer to the assault rifle, but because I'm more skilled in assault rifle, I'll probably stick with this. And I think this is going to be my new fit. And again, it seems stupid having a scout suit with an assault rifle, but that's kind of what I'm being reduced to, because I'm not going to have my flay lock much longer. I'm not going to have You know, I don't really use mass driver. I'm not very good with it. I think you know, and to be honest, this is kind of limiting. This is, I guess, why I have kind of a negative connotation towards it, because I feel as if I'm being like corralled into a particular style of play now. And I've never had that in EVE. I've never had in EVE where they kind of make changes to the point where you can't even use a ship anymore. You stop using certain ships because of maybe, I don't know, they maybe make it tank less, but it still means you can use it. Maybe that's because you could do PvE or whatever it may be, but in Dust, I'm just surprised that there's an aerial battle, by the way. He's trying to literally suicide his dropship as Hinox, I believe, and he almost does it. No, he misses. And then he crashes into the into the MCC. Oh, how we laughed. But I think, you know, it's kind of a shame that we're being corralled into a particular kind of gameplay. I mean, you know, I honestly do feel that. I feel as if we're pretty much being told, no, don't use the good guns, don't use the exotic guns, you'll use this gun, and, you know, you'll like it, soldier, get on with it. And I don't like that. I think, you know, at the end of the day, all of the guns should be out there, and they should be what they are. But at the moment, anything that's pretty good, like the laser rifle was, or like the Flaylock is, they're just going to adjust so that it can compete with, so assault rifles can compete with it. And I think that's wrong. I really think that's wrong. I think that's such a shame that they are doing that kind of thing. But I think, you know, what can you do? I think, you know, you can't have a situation where one gun is too overpowered. But I suspect, and I fear, and I kind of know that when changes are made, they're just doing it with the hindsight of, let's just make it so people stop moaning about this, and that's a shame. And I think, again, it does feel that, you know, the vocal minority are influencing the majority's game, and that's a big shame. So, different match here, just looking at the AR again. This is, again, I think, you know, certain maps like this, they really favour the AR. The range on this particular map is perfect. And as you can see, you know, I do like it. I'm actually getting into it, but I do feel I don't get as much fun. The thing I loved about the Flaylock was the ability to do acrobatics. You know, you could run and jump over someone, spin around, shoot them. And it was because it was a kind of very high damage single shot or multiple shot, you know, high damage kind of weapon. Whereas with the AR, you can't really do your acrobatics. You've got to stand back and fire. So this is boring. You know, this is not really worthy of videos. And I do wonder if CCP kind of get that. I mean, you know, if I can be quite honest with you, I think CCP see no value in YouTube at all. I think they really, they don't really support it. They don't really see the value of it. I think, you know, a few of them are probably, you know, understanding that, yeah, it's always good to get your games seen, but I think they're a bit over controlling CCP. So the fact that they don't have control over stuff like, you know, YouTube and content made by YouTubers is why I think generally there is this kind of feeling, I mean, I certainly have it, where I feel CCP totally just disregard and disrespect the medium, you know what I mean? I'm not saying we're anybody special, don't get me wrong, but it does feel that CCP just basically couldn't give a monkeys. And when you think about, you know, certainly the most successful games out there like Minecraft and, you know, even just, you know, regular stuff like, you know, Call of Duty, Battlefield 3, DayZ, all of these games that are massive successes, it's because I think they have multiple marketing channels, but also the community is so up for the game that they also, you know, pretty much broadcast content. So when people see, I mean, I would like to think that some people have seen the videos and actually said, you know what, that looks fun, let's go play it. And that surely is an incredible marketing medium. But I honestly do feel that CCP don't care. And I think, you know, if we had 5 YouTubers or 500 YouTubers, they couldn't care less because they don't really support it. They don't really help. Very, very difficult to ever kind of get much from them, you know, and this may just be me, I don't know, but I do talk with a few others, and I think I get the impression that there is a little bit of, you know, a little bit of distance, you know what I mean? I don't think they really understand it, I don't think they value it, and I think they just think of us as, you know, over-enthusiastic fans, which of course we are. But I'd like to think we're maybe more than that, and we're here to try and publicize a game free of charge for them, and even then it still feels as if we're kind of blanked. Post in the comments if you think that's true. I mean, you know, I'm not being precious here. I'm not expecting anything from CCP, but I think the support is lacking. The desire to kind of, you know, show and almost put their name behind a lot of what we're doing is just completely absent. So a lot of the time you're seeing YouTubers now bugger off to other games who are just thinking, well, CCP, you know, they don't care about their game. They don't even want to try and support people who do. But how would they do that? That's the question. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. A weird one. We'll probably talk about that in another video. We'll see you soon.